Hi again, Mark here from Talkingbass. Today I'm going to talk about something that I hear reiterated over and over again, from beginners all the way through to top pros, and how it's so easily shown to be a complete myth. I'm talking about the so-called money area. You'll hear experienced players say, there's no money to be made above the 5th fret. Well, I can tell you right now, that's total hogwash. So, what does that statement really mean? Well, taken semi-literally, the idea is that if you want to be an effective bass player that people want to hire, you should look to stay down on those lower frets. Why do we want to stay down there? Well, that's where all the low notes are. The lower the frets are, the lower the notes. That's where the groove is. Isn't it? Well, kind of, but not really. And I'll show you why that's baloney in a second, but it's worth pointing out that I am being slightly facetious here, because at the end of the day, what those people are really trying to say is, when playing bass lines, don't noodle around up there on the high notes like a lead guitarist if you want to get hired. But to be fair, that's one of the most obvious things that you could ever say to a bassist. That's like telling a pilot not to practice aerobatics during a scheduled flight with a plane full of passengers. So why is this low frets equals good bassline statement a total myth? Well, for one thing, just because you're playing right up here on the bass doesn't mean you're necessarily playing higher notes than down here. These notes are no higher than these notes. Now, obviously, the low notes on the E string can only be found there. Yes, if you're limiting every single bass line that you play to the notes E to A in that low register, then, I guess that statement is true. But even all the other notes within those first 5 frets can be played in positions higher up the bass. And here's what might be the big light bulb moment for some of you beginners. When you play those notes higher up the bass, they actually have more low end. They're even more bassy. So we'll stick to the key of C major and let's take a B at the 2nd fret of the A string. That's a low note. We can also play that exact same pitch up here at the 7th fret of the E string. This C at the 3rd fret of the A string, that can be played at the 8th fret, and that D at the 5th fret of the A string can be played up here at the 10th fret of the E string. Because the low E string is a fatter string than the A string, we actually get a boomier tone with more fundamental. So from a, bass is better perspective, those notes might actually be better played further up the neck. Then let's move up onto the D string. E, F and G. 2nd, 3rd and 5th frets there. They're a little higher in pitch, but we're still in that money area. We're within those first 5 frets. But look, I can play the E, F and G here on the A string at the 7th, 8th and 10th frets. And I can also play them here at the 12th, 13th and 15th frets on the E string. So, yeah, we're down in that, money area down there. But look, we're all the way up here and listen to the sound. A lot boomier and bassier up here. And now let's move up onto the G string. So we've got the notes A, B and C, 2nd, 4th and 5th frets. Where else can we play those? Well, we can move up onto the D string, 7th, 9th and 10th frets. We could move up to the 12th fret of the A string, so 12th, 14th and 15th fret. And then we can move up all the way to the 17th, 19th and 20th frets there on the E string. So here we've reached the top fret of a Fender P bass with a pitch that is there within that so-called money area. That C is the same as that C. It's not an octave higher, it's the exact same pitch. So it's worth mentioning that the general tone and timbre of these notes is going to be dictated by the gauge of the string and the position that we're playing on the fretboard. The thicker the string, the fatter the tone. Also, the position of the fretting, be it further up or down the neck, is going to affect the sound based on the vibration. If we're stopping the string higher up the neck, up here, we get less vibration along the whole string. It's not better or worse, it's just a little different, and you'll get to know the differences with experience. So, as a little example of the difference between these strings, I've quickly sequenced up a simple chord progression of A minor, G, F and E, and we're going to play along beginning with simple root notes. So first of all, let's try some deep notes down here in this low area on the E string. So here's with the track. 1, 2, 3, 4. A, just held notes. G, F, Now, that's okay. Yes, we've got those low notes working, but you might also want a little bit of contrast with a line an octave higher. Now, if we stay as low as we can on the bass in that money area, that's going to be A, 2nd fret of the G string, open G string, then F and E, 3rd fret and 2nd fret on the D string. So let's have a listen to that with the track. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. As a comparison, let's try those notes on each of the other strings in turn. So we'll try the D string. So we'll have A, G, F, E, working down 7th, 5th, 3rd and 2nd frets. Then we can move up onto the A string, 12th, 10th, 8th and 7th frets. And then we can move up onto the E string, 17th, 15th, 13th and 12th fret. Okay? So D string. A string. And the E string. And now back to our original. Now, as you can hear, each string provides a totally different tone. Down here in this low position, it's got a lot more twang. On the D string, it's a deeper tone, but still, quite tight in the mids. The A string has a much rounder tone. And then the E string has a very hollow, open sound in that upper area. Now, none of these are wrong, it all depends on the sound that you're going for. Now let's try that track again, and this time I'm going to add some extra fifths in there. So listen to how the different positions change the overall sound of the line. I'll start on the D string. So up in that high area at the 17th fret, that 5th interval sounds, like it's got a lot more low end. But down here, that G string has a lot more twang on that upper E note. Now, I probably wouldn't venture into those really high frets on the E string too much. That tone, I feel it's just a little too hollow for a lot of lines. And it's just, way out of position for most other notes, if you're going to have to come down. But if it's a choice between the 2nd fret on the G string and that 12th fret at the A string, I might be more inclined to take the 12th fret for a deeper tone, in this upper octave. So, back to our myth busting. I think it's plain to see that if you're a bassy bass player playing bassy bass lines, the fatter strings would be better suited as your money area, not necessarily the fretting position. Okay, so remember to like this video, subscribe and leave a comment. Also be sure to check out the lesson material and backing track over at the Talkingbass website by clicking the link in the info below. You can then sign up for the totally free membership and log in to gain access to a ton of practice resources, the forums, the chat groups, and then if you want to take your bass playing to the next level, check out the premium courses on everything from beginner bass guitar through music theory, technique, reading music, and everything in between. Okay? I'll see you next week.